What is up, everybody? Coach Chad here, the CEO of the Next Level Coaching Academy, back with another episode of the Fit CEO podcast. We have one of our amazing NLCA students, Camden, with us today, and we're going to do something a little bit different. Usually when I bring a guest on, we talk about their story and how they got into entrepreneurship and how they've grown to a successful place. Today, we're going to do an actual coaching call. So Camden has three awesome questions for me, and we're going to dive into those in just 1 second. I want to give Camden the floor to give us a quick little intro here.
Yeah, what's going on, guys? So Coach Cam, the CEO of Title Training, lead coach of Title Training, joined NLCA back in August of 2022. Been an amazing experience ever since. Came back and part of the certified coach program now with the 10K accelerator, and it's a blessing. It's really been amazing to be able to grow as a coach, be able to establish myself and move away from my part-time job that I have. Now I do this full time, being able to spend more time with family and really being able to be an entrepreneur and have that ability to continue to grow within my means, right? No one else is holding me to it. It's up to me and me only. So I love that feeling and that ability to really have control over my future.
Let's freaking go, bro. Congrats on your
Good.
success. We got
Thanks,
a lot
man.
of sales questions today, and I know
Absolutely.
sales is like the big make it or break it for people's success. So I know this will be tons of value. So let's do it. Let's start with question number one. What do you got for me?
Absolutely, man. So one of the things that in the modules that has helped me a lot is the 6 basic human needs, right? And so obviously there's 6 of them. There's 2 that have really stood out to me with my clientele, my ideal client, which is certainty, and which has been also contribution. But my question for you, man, is if I sit down ahead of time and I really go through it, I can identify these things kind of going through the information I have. Is there anything that you try to look for with those 2 to be able to identify and be like, okay, this guy's a contribution kind of guy, or this guy's, needs certainty? What do you look for with that?
100%. I'm going to provide a little context for the listeners,
Sure.
and then we'll answer your question directly. So one thing we teach in NLCA is that each individual has a specific human need that drives them most. Now, every human has all 6 of these needs, but there is 1 or 2 that stands out more in an individual, and that's individual dependent. Now, what those are certainty, significance, contribution, connection, growth, and uncertainty. So I'll give you the quick 10-second synopsis for each one, and then Cam, I'll answer your question directly. So
Absolutely.
certainty, this is somebody who wants to be certain that they can get the results, right? So typically they're asking a ton of questions around, how does the process work? They want to know what the strategy is. They want to see testimonials, right? The second one here is significance. What this person cares most about is being significant in the eyes of other individuals, right? They want to be a somebody in some sense of the word. Number 3 is contribution. Their main driver is they want to contribute, right? In the realm of fitness, this is getting fit for their family is a great example of that. Number 4 is connection. So their main drivers, they want to feel connected, typically to a group. And then the last one here is growth, right? Their main driver is how can I continue to excel? How can I continue to be better than I was yesterday? The uncertainty one, I kind of throw that one out the window because it doesn't really have any relevance in fitness.
Right.
But that would be the 6th one. All right, let's get into your question. So the 2 that you had was certainty, and then you said contribution. Is that right?
Correct. Yeah. Busy parents is my ideal client. So, those are the 2, right? Betting on themselves and having the certainty it's going to work, and the contribution to their family and to their children mostly.
Yep, 100%. So certainty is probably the most common one. And this is the one that you can probably catch the easiest and early in the process. So in the DMs, you're going to see that one come up a lot just based on the questions that they ask you. So if you remember what I said earlier, the certainty person, typically they're very process driven, right? Typically they're very strategic. So they're going to ask you about having you define what is your strategy of getting results. They're also going to ask for testimonials as well. And they may even ask about you and your credentials. So if they ask you like, hey, Cam, what makes you, like an expert in this, right? What's your experience? Tell me about your story. Those are the types of questions that a certainty person will ask. The awesome thing about a certainty person is they don't hide it. They're going to come out and they're going to be very direct with all these questions. So usually they give you all the tools that you need there. Have you experienced that?
Yeah, actually, one of the clients who I just closed this last Tuesday, yeah, same exact thing. He went after the question about me, And he was like, look, man, you look like someone who's been fit your whole life, man. Like, how are you going to be able to get me to where I want to go? So I had to go onto my Instagram and share my screen on the call and show him my before and after and show him like multiple reels that I had posted and stuff like that, just to be able to show him like, this is me. And he was just like, oh, all right, cool. Done deal. Let's sign.
Let's go. Yeah, that's the big one. They'll really pry on like your credentials. They'll ask you how long you've been doing this, what your experience
Yeah.
is, how
Yep.
you got fit. Yeah, so that person's going to be really process driven. All right, so the next one was contribution. Is that right?
Contribution, correct.
Cool. All right. So I think the biggest place in the sales process where you have to open your ears and listen for the contribution person is going to be that very first question you ask on the sales call, which is, what is your why? All right. And the more important part, and this is not you listening, this would be you digging it out of them, is asking them why their why is their why, right? Trying to peel back all the layers of the onion. Because the contribution person, they need to feel comfortable to tell you what they want to contribute to, right? I'm going to give you that example that we talked about earlier, which is wanting to lose weight to be a better parent, right? Takes a lot of trust to tell somebody that, right? And to admit something like that.
Right.
So it's our job as salespeople to make people feel comfortable to the point where they can open up and give you that piece of ammunition for the sales call.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, no, and it is one of those things too. I think you have to ask that why a bunch of times, because people usually go very surface level, right? You'll be like, why do you want to do this? Well, I want to feel better. I want to look better, right? But then it's like, okay, but what is feeling better going to do for you? Well, I want to live longer. Okay, but you want to live with good quality, right? Like what's going to happen if you live to be 200? Why do you want to live to be 200, right? Like, and digging people, to be able to get that out of them. So I think sometimes it does kind of take you being a little bit uncomfortable and having to be like, hey, like, I don't mean to pry, but let's keep digging. Let's get to that real why, because it's going to help you in the long run, not me.
Yeah, I mean, you have to cut through the BS, right? As a salesperson, sometimes you have to be direct, right? And you're doing it with good intention, right? You're not being direct to be an asshole or to be a dick. You're doing it to be a good coach in so many words, right? So sometimes, like, if somebody gives me a surface level response, I know that I need to do a pattern interrupt. So instead of just saying like, well, what else, right? Because that's not a pattern interrupt. A pattern interrupt is when I change my tone, which then in return it changes their tone. So to cut through the BS, if somebody gives me a really simple answer, I might just look them dead in the eyes and say, tell me what you really want. Right. And they're like, oh, fuck. Like, all right, one, this person cares about me. And two, they could tell that this is not what I really want.
I like that one. Sorry, I'm just taking notes because this is valuable stuff. Yeah, no, I think that's really, really good. Because again, that change in tonality, right, obviously throws them off. So then now they're paying more attention. They're listening to you a little bit deeper versus to stay in the same exact pattern throughout the entire thing. And I like that, just being honest with them. Like, just be real. Let's do this. Come on, you got on this call. Let's do it.
So one of the best ways to get people's attention is to pause. Right. A lot of people in sales interactions, they get nervous if they don't get the answer that they want. So they start talking really fast. Right. And your person could feel that. But if you pause and create silence, that actually gets their attention more.
Like that. All right. Yeah. No, I like that a lot. And I've definitely seen that too, as far as like, when it comes to closing and stuff like that, and talking about the parts that I'm comfortable, you do kind of have to like lay things out, like the information out, and then
Yep, 100%.
wait for them to break, right, and say something.
Yeah, it gets their attention. It makes them feel like, oh shit, like, all right, this is a serious moment here, right? Like if you've ever listened to somebody speak on stage or on YouTube or a podcast, right? Anytime they throw a pause in there, that's when you get pulled back in. But when they just talk and they don't change their tone, that's when sometimes we get glazed over.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah, thank you for that.
Yeah. All right. So I feel like we crushed the first one. We talked about certainty. We talked about contribution. Was there any other human needs that you wanted to discuss, or was it just those two?
Those are the two that I've really seen. I think significance is another one that I've seen here and there. Just from the standpoint of really like the big, right? That's the one where it's like you want like the big changes, right?
Yeah, so significance could be more like vanity goals, right? Like significance, in the terms of fitness is like individuals saying that maybe they say it or maybe they don't say it directly, that they're trying to make a change to, you know, improve their appearance, right? It's mostly it's mostly not just about themselves. It's about doing it for other individuals, right? So like the big one is like an individual who has like a vanity goal. There's usually an underlying driver that maybe they don't feel currently significant with their body. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Like they'll be able to go out and achieve more and be like looked at in a higher status if they get their body goals achieved, right?
Usually it's a status thing. Yeah, but
Yeah,
sometimes I mean bringing it into a more of like an emotional thing, like being a parent is like maybe they don't feel significant as a father, or maybe they don't feel significant as a mother, which once again that kind of comes back to what we were talking about with the with contribution is you have to create a space where they're comfortable to say those things. Some people will come
right.
out and say it right away, most people will not. So like all the
Yeah,
stuff that we talked about earlier with like cutting through the BS, peeling back the layers of the onion, that can get you that one. But what I've seen more times than not with fitness is people who have the significance human need, they want to be viewed as a somebody. It's usually they have a vanity goal.
gotcha. No, I like that one. Cool. Yeah, no, I think that definitely answers my the ones that I've seen and the ones that I feel like make sense for my clientele for sure.
Beautiful.
Cool.
Let's do question number 2. What do you got?
All right, man. So I've been doing really, really well with closing calls, right? Getting people on longer contracts right now, just because again, that helps them to be able to make the investment more, reasonable for them. They enjoy that a little bit more. It's easier for them. From that standpoint, though, what are things that you've done to be able to help you increase your collective, right? What are some strategies that you use to be able to kind of get, I guess, more money up front or collect more in the short run?
Yeah, upfront cash collected. So I'll give you a metric just to determine if the problem is a problem. Some people
Okay.
will say, "Oh, my cash collected isn't high enough," but they don't actually have a metric to measure it against. If
Okay.
you're collecting 35% of your contracts upfront, and upfront is defined as the first 30 days, then you're doing totally fine. So for
Okay.
example, if you're contracting, so written in contract within a month, $10,000, and you pull 3,500 of that upfront within the month as new cash, you're doing good. Anything above that is excellent. Anything below that, we got a problem. So
Okay.
first tip is make sure that you're tracking that so you can
Right.
have something to determine if we're doing good, if we're not doing good. All
Right.
right, let's assume that you're not, right? Let's assume that this is something that we need to improve.
Okay.
One of our favorite ways of getting upfront cash collected is actually offering the pay in full split in two. So how we'll do this is, and we'll only offer this to somebody that we think is a really good client, but let's say that we're chatting about the payment plan, right? I would stop in the middle of the conversation about the payment plan and I would say, look, Camden,
It's okay.
I think you're a really good client and I think that you're going to have a lot of success here. I want to throw you a bone. Are you open to that? You would say yes. And then I would say, cool, I don't do this for everybody, but I want to take our pay in full price and I want to honor that. And I'm going to split it in two for you. So half will be due today. The other half will be due in 45 days. Does that sound fair? And then you go from there.
Okay.
So
I like
that's
that.
the reason that one works a lot is the law of reciprocity, right? They feel like they're getting a deal. They also feel like you're helping them out. So inherently they feel obligated to take you up on your offering.
Okay. So in that scenario, right, I just kind of want to make sure I have the context of it, right? So for the paid in full split in two, are you obviously you go through the call, you get to the point of investment. Are you pitching the paid in full? Then they're saying, no, I would like to be able to like, I need it, more condensed than or more spread out than that. You talk about the payment plan and then you go pause. Let's go back to the payment plan and split it in two for you. That kind of how it would lead up to it.
So there's two different ways that you can do it. One way is you can, do your typical, do you want to do payment plan or pay in full, right? They say they want to do payment plan. You could say, awesome, cool. Well, hey, I think you're a great client. And then offer them the deal right then and there. But coming back to pattern interrupts, you can also do that halfway through discussing payment plans, right?
Okay.
If you feel like the discussion with the payment plan isn't really gaining any traction or going anywhere, you can cut the conversation off by saying, look, I want to help you out. I want to give you a special deal. Pattern interrupt, ears open, they're now re-engaged, and then you can go for your pitch. Because there are some times when you're discussing payment plans and the conversation feels flat and you feel like it's not going to go to where you want it to go. That's where you
Right.
can introduce a pattern interrupt to get them re-engaged again.
Gotcha. Okay. No, I like that. Because again, like you said, the pattern interrupt gets their attention again. The law of reciprocity, right? Because it's like, okay, cool. Like this person cares about me. They're thinking about me and they really want me to get this done. They believe me. So they're trying to give me everything that I can to be able to get this done.
Yep. So that one helps a ton. The other thing, and this is just like very simple, but not enough people do it. A lot of people just go right for the monthly payment plan, right? So a lot of people, the reason their upfront cash collected isn't high is because when somebody says payment plan, they go right to month, right? Like, all right, cool. I have a 12-month contract. It's X per month over 12 months, right? So what we teach our closers to do is you start with the best possible outcome for the business. And then the more they say no, you work backwards to the most beneficial outcome for the client. So for example, if we had a 12-month contract and let's say that contract was $3,000, the most beneficial thing for the business with this being a payment plan is to split it into 2 payments, right? So I would ask for 1,500 up front, and then I would ask for the other 1,500 maybe in 90 days or whatever you decide. Okay, so they deny that. Then I go from 2 pay to 3 pay, right? So if they can't do this in 2 payments, great, let's do it in 3 payments. 3 payments goes to 4 payments. I'm still, if this is a 12-month contract, I'm still 8 pay cycles away from this being monthly, right? So
Okay.
it's just working backwards. And at one point, they're going to say, all right, this is better. Even if they land on 5, let's say 5 payments, it's better than 12 payments, right? So
Right.
a lot of people do, and one of the main reasons why people don't have great upfront cash collected is they just go right for the monthly, opposed to asking for the 2 pay, 3 pay, and then going down the ladder from there.
I can identify my problem.
Yeah.
It's going more for the monthly. Not that I don't pitch the paid in full, but again, if someone denies the paid in full, I go to the monthly. So I think doing like how you said, the 2 and the 3 and the 4 and the 5 and continuing to go down that rabbit hole, I think it's definitely a much better approach.
Yeah, and I mean, bro, you can get creative with it too, right? Like with that 2 pay, let's say that your 12-month is $3,000, you can ask for half up front, 1,500 up front, and then you can do the remaining 1,500 over 12 payments still, right? So they're paying half up front, and now their monthly payments are brought down to, what is 1,500 divided by 12? Let's see, is
Right over
125
100.
bucks a
Yeah.
month, right? So the way that I would frame that, if I'm trying to sell you, is I would say, if I thought that you cared about monthly payments, I would say, hey, I have a way that I can get your monthly payments to $125. Are you interested in hearing that? They're going to obviously say yes. And then you're going to say, great, let's put 1,500 down today. And then the remaining 1,500 on your contract is just 125 a month for the next 12 months.
Yeah, I
So
like that.
a lot of sales is just getting very creative.
Right. Absolutely. No, I like that a lot. I think that that'll definitely help my collected on a monthly basis for sure going forward.
Yeah,
Cool.
100%. And then the last one that I wrote down here was trying to work with some sort of funding company. So Sweet Pay is one that we use in NLCA. Fund My Contract is another one. There's tons of them out there. But basically what these funding companies could do is, for anybody who isn't in a great financial situation, however you think they're going to make a good client, they can apply for a loan right on the sales call. You'll get all of your money up front. So you'll get 100% of the contract, and then they'll get a payment plan, some of them up to 7 years, right? So their monthly payments are minimal, but you're getting all the money up front.
Yeah.
So we offer that in NLCA. I know some of our more advanced clients offer that in their businesses as well. And it's been a saving grace for us for sure.
For sure. So you said Sweet Pay and Fund My Contract were the ones that you're using?
Yeah, Fund My Contract might have some rules on who they work with. Like
Okay.
their clients might have to be at a certain criteria. Sweet Pay
Okay.
will work with anybody, but there's tons of these lending companies out there that you could do research on. Sweet Pay is a good one to start with.
Okay. Awesome. I'll definitely start looking into those because I think that that'll help me a lot too, right? That gets it down to the monthly payment or even better, right?
Yeah,
From their standpoint, but allows me to be able to get my collected a lot
that one
quicker, obviously.
will help you close more deals that give you financial objections. People
Okay.
who have a true financial objection, they want to do it but can't make it happen. That will help you get that person over the line.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. If you don't mind me asking, exactly do you pitch that? So like what would that be? You go from paid in full in half, da 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 da, and then like later on down the line, like, okay, it's still the
Usually,
monthly.
yeah, usually it's after like what we teach our sales team is the main priority is getting somebody on a payment plan in-house, so not using financing, but
Right.
the last ditch effort is using financing. And the way that I would pitch that is I would say something to the effect of like, all right, look, I know we've tried a lot. Do I still have you in a resourceful state? Are you still open to trying to find a solution to your problem? Get them re-engaged. They say yes. Then I'd say, all right, cool. So I have a way, we are partnered with a company that can get you a payment plan up to 7 years.
Okay.
Up to 7 years means that you only pay $50 a month. Is that something you feel like you can afford? Great. Are you willing to go through the process with me? Cool. And then I walk them through the process, which is basically just applying for a loan. All of them, all of them have soft credit checks, so it doesn't
Mhm.
affect their credit score either.
Good. Okay. That's beautiful, man. Thank you so much for that. That's definitely going to make a huge difference.
Yep, 100%,
Cool.
100%.
So
All right,
ready for the last one?
question 3. Let's do it.
Let's do it, man. So this one was just kind of more like personal fun kind of question for me. But obviously, you do a lot of closing. A lot of people in an LCA are doing a lot of closing, right? What's your favorite or best strategy to be able to like close a call? And then like if there's a particularly funny story using that strategy or one that sticks out to you.
Yeah, 100%. So I have different one-liners for different objections, obviously. But if we're just talking like super general,
Mhm.
I think the thing that is not used enough, I have two. I'll start with the first one. I think the thing that is not used enough is simply just asking, are we committing to this? I think people are afraid to ask that. We talked about this prior to starting the podcast, but you watched one of my sales calls and I
Yeah.
probably asked, are we committing to this in that sales call like 50 times, right?
Right.
Sometimes it takes that many times to ask somebody, are we committing to this? And that's not being pushy, right? That's me giving this person an opportunity to take a chance on the thing that they said they wanted to do, which is change their life, right? So
Right.
I'm just being a coach. In all coaching scenarios, you basically need to keep your clients committed and also recommit your clients. So
Right.
in a sales situation, you just got to present that opportunity. And sometimes you have to present that opportunity a lot to get somebody to say yes. So are we committing to this? Is a question that people need to ask more, and it needs to be timed appropriately. You can't just say it like right off the bat. The moment has to be right. So it usually comes off of talking about something that's emotional, right? So emotional
Mhm.
usually is tied back to their why, right? So we've used the parents example a lot, but let's say you're handling an objection and you bring up their why about being a good father for their kids and how they need to lose weight in the whole 9 yards, right? After that conversation, I would say, well, hey, I mean, seems pretty compelling to me. Are we committing to this? Right? So it has to be timed right. It can't just be thrown out at random.
Yeah.
Second one that I like a lot, and you pointed this out earlier in our discussion prior to the podcast, was 12 months if you do, 12 months if you don't, right? So just if this person had a really powerful why in the discovery portion of the sales call, you could rebring that back up and say, hey, look, do you mind if I challenge you? One of my favorite questions in sales is, can I challenge you, or do I have permission to challenge you? Because then it opens the door for anything, right? So they say, yes, I'm open to being challenged. And then I would say, all right, Camden, so 12 months from now, you choose not to take action on starting this business. You continue to work at XYZ job. Your life continues to look this way, right? Tell me how that would make you feel 12 months from now if you choose not to do this. You would paint out the worst case scenario, right? And then I would flip that and say, all right, cool. Let's say that you decide to take action today. 12 months from now, what would your life look like? You would paint the best case scenario. And then I would close you by saying, are you willing to settle for anything less than that? Coming off of you describing the best case scenario. Usually the person at this point would say, no, I'm not willing to settle for anything less than that. And that's where I would say, great, then are we committing to this? And that's how
Yeah.
you close the deal.
No, absolutely. Yeah, I really, really like that 12-month one, or whatever time frame you want to give them on whether they do or they don't. I recently did this one and realized that it really wasn't working for me. And like they were just kind of like not very excited about the 12 months if they do, right? Even I was like, best case scenario, right? And what it ended up being is that I was framing it uh as a certainty question, right? Like the best case scenario for you. And it was more that his goals were contribution. So I was like, okay,
Mhm.
so let's say that you did this, but it gave your wife permission to be able to do this, and your kids started to get into better shape following you and doing this, that, and the other, and they didn't have to deal with the things that you dealt with as a kid. Completely changed. So sometimes it's even like the framing of what you're asking them in that, right?
Yeah. So, well, how we coach our sales team is to look
Mhm.
for something called the silver bullet. So the silver bullet is usually found in the first 10 to 15 minutes of the call, the discovery phase of the call. And they will usually tell you. Obviously, you have to ask a lot of questions to get that, but the silver bullet is the one thing that will give you the greatest leverage in handling objections. So you kind of have to be like this detective, right? So if you
Right.
notice in the discovery section that they're talking a lot about this one reason why they want to do this, or they seem emotional as they explain it, that's the silver bullet. Take your pen, write on your paper exactly what they said, so that when you get into the objection handling portion, you could just re-bring up that portion again.
Right. Absolutely. No, I love that. And I think are we committing to this question is huge, because that's one that, again, it is a little intimidating, especially when you're new to sales, or you're still kind of getting your feet wet with that. But just continuing to ask it, continuing to go after it, because otherwise you miss opportunities where they probably would commit. But because you didn't ask the question, we end up talking, and then we talk around it, and then it's done.
Yeah. You asked me, oh no, I can't believe I'm going to share this. You asked me what my funniest sales experience was.
Yes.
So when I had my fitness business, and we like just started ads at this point, and
Okay.
when you get into ads, you'll see like sometimes you get some weirdos on the call. You get some people that they're a little bit out there. So I had this one individual get on the call, and he was on his phone. Anytime they're on their phone, I'm like, this isn't going to be a good call. I don't know why. I kind of picked that
Yeah.
up. But, so he's on his phone, and next thing I know, he walks into the bathroom and he proceeds to take a shit while he's on the call. At this time, I was like
Yeah.
hardcore, like I'm closing everybody. Like that was my
Right.
mindset. And I proceeded to close him after he took a shit.
That is awesome. That shows your
Yeah.
dedication to this process for sure.
Oh yeah. I
Oh,
mean,
man.
it was a weird call. That's my favorite closing
For
story.
sure. Like, do you think that he didn't know that you could see him, or you think he just didn't care?
Oh, he didn't care. He was like
That's wild.
backwoods, like he didn't
Okay.
give a shit.
Literally.
Yeah, yeah, literally. He ended up, I mean, this goes without saying, but he ended up being a really terrible client, asked for a refund, and we got him out the door. But
Yeah,
I kind of learned
that's
my
fair.
lesson on not
Sure.
everyone is closable, but you shouldn't close everybody.
Right.
But super early in my career, but funny story nonetheless.
Yeah, for sure. Wow, what an experience, man.
Yeah, 100%. Dude, this has been great. I definitely feel like I want to do more podcasts like this. This was a lot of
Yeah,
fun.
for
Before we
sure.
wrap up today, where
Yeah.
can people find you?
Yeah, man. So people on Instagram, TikTok, it's flexcam_91. Um, that's the two that I use a lot on on Facebook. It's Camden Anderson, same way that it is here on the podcast. And yeah, I mean TikTok is my main one that's going a lot. People love the fast food cheat sheets and stuff like that we put out. So if you've seen a fast food cheat sheet and you're like, I think this guy looked familiar, that was probably me.
Well, everybody, thank you guys for watching. If you guys did enjoy this style of episode, you can always reach out to me in the DMs and let me know. If you enjoyed the episode at all, make sure you screenshot it up, tag Camden, tag me, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.